Hey there, Father Michael here. So last night, as I was coming home from my SMART recovery meeting, I was feeling pretty good. There was a nice crowd last night. A lot of good stuff was shared. We worked a new tool from SMART recovery. Anyway, it was good. And so I was feeling more positive and more relaxed, really, than I had felt all day. Yesterday was a struggle. Didn't eat much. I just wasn't feeling. I was really faking it till I was going to make it yesterday. So I'm tired, and I decide, well, okay, I'm going to nibble on some cheese popcorn in bed while I watch the next episode of Ozark, which I'm getting hooked on. So of course, I'm sitting in bed and I'm watching the show, and I've got the bag of cheese popcorn, and of course Butch is there as well. And of course now, because Dad is snacking, now Butch has to snack too. So I indulged him a little bit and gave him a few pieces of popcorn. Well, that's all well and good. But the problem was, during the night at some point, he decided that he would like to go outside, but he's not the kind of dog that makes a sound or lets anybody know. Like, he's not going to sit at the door. He's not going to give you any kind of a hint. You just have to know that he needs to go outside. So what did he do? He just pooped in the dining room, in the general area where he always poops when there's something going on, like a high fiber popcorn snack late at night. So when I got up this morning, of course, there was that little surprise for me. Actually, not a little surprise, a big surprise. One thing that I've noticed about Butch, he's different from every other dog that I've ever had, in some really positive ways and in some curious ways. So one of the curious things about him is he will spend the whole day outside in the yard, head to the ground, sniffing for chipmunks or squirrels or bunnies or moles. I don't know, something. Something is underground somewhere, and he is on a mission to just sniff it out into the open. And he'll spend the whole day head down, sniffing in that narrow little 3 or 4 inch strip of space between, the dirt and the sky, just that low little zone. He'll spend all day there. All day there. He'll sniff his own poo from yesterday. He will sniff other dogs' poo if I happen to, if he happens to be at the dog park. And again, even at the dog park, when there are other animals there to run around with and play with, he is not interested. He is going to spend the entire time running the perimeter of that area, head to the ground, sniffing the dirt, sniffing the poo, and the whole thing. He's just not interested in other dogs that way. He might give them a little introductory sniff, but then he's so over it. He's just not that guy. And even though that dog park actually is in a rather beautiful park area with trees and grass, and it's along the river, Butch doesn't know that. He's never noticed anything, because he's got his head to the ground and he's just sniffing. Well, it occurs to me this morning that Butch is not the only creature wandering around through life with his head down. Go to any college campus and you'll see a prime example of this. There is like almost no human interaction or conversation going on within the student population when they're, on break or on the mall or, traveling between buildings, going from class to class. Everybody has his head down, glued to the phone, focused on virtual connection with humans rather than the actual humans that surround them. Go to any restaurant and you'll see, and this isn't just young people, it's even old, crusty people like myself. They're with their loved ones, presumably, but no one's talking because everybody's on their device, even at the dinner table. Even on a first date, I have, eavesdropped on some encounters in booths in restaurants where it was clear this couple was meeting for the first time and they're both on their phones. I do the same thing myself, to some extent. I too can get lost in my phone, lost in my head, for sure. I've got 3 offices. I've got one at church, I've got one here at work, one here at home, and one at my office at the treatment center. So I've got 3 laptops, and I have three reasons to keep my head down on my desk, isolating myself, just not noticing the larger world around me. And I've done the same thing this past week, I gotta say. I've been so preoccupied with what's going on in my personal life that I've just been keeping my head down. And even my posture is different. Like my shoulder blades have been so curled under, my back hurts. I'm holding tension in my neck and shoulders. My back is bent over, like I said. I'm like focused on the ground in front of me, and I'm, figuratively speaking, sniffing piles of poo, thinking of worst case scenarios, bad outcomes, negative stuff. I'm only focusing, for the most part, on those feelings of fear and foreboding. So today, I'm tired of doing that. I'm trying to do something different. I'm going to challenge myself to just walk upright, to pay attention to everything else that's going on around me, from the cloudy skies this morning to the cool breeze that is gradually warming and is going to result in sunny mid-70s starting tomorrow, I think. I'm going to listen attentively for the sounds around me, the sound of the birds, the sound of squirrels as they're frantically scampering to bury the last few black sunflower seed that they're swiping out of my feeder. I'm going to pay attention to the scent and the sight of those tomatoes, which amazingly survived the light snowfall, and they're still ripening on the vine. Talk about endurance. I'm going to focus on that whole bank of yellow and orange coreopsis that I planted in the spring that are still in bloom, that are still spectacular. There's probably a 40-foot line of those, and with every breeze, they bob and they weave, and they just look like they're living their best life, singing praise to the Creator. That's where I want to be. Psalm 121 says, I will lift up my eyes to the hills. Where the heck is my help going to come from? My help comes from Yahweh, the maker of heaven and earth. And Psalm 27 says, come. My heart says, seek the face of God. O Yahweh, I do seek your face. The truth is that you and I fail to notice the blessings of God that are already surrounding us. Way too often, we walk around, we keep our head down, we feel some kind of way, we get distracted, we question, we doubt, we don't celebrate the faith that we have, even if it's a tiny mustard seed kind of faith. And yet, all of that is more real than any problems that we are facing right now. So, for myself, I'm going to try and do better today. I'm going to keep my head up. I'm going to stop sniffing at my own piles of poo. And I'm going to keep myself as open as possible to all the amazing things God is doing in my world right now. Pray with me. Mighty, always creating God, we come into your presence in this moment of openness and acceptance, eager to hear your still speaking voice within our hearts. Help us today to stand upright, to put our shoulders back, to lift our eyes to you, to see and to witness the miracle of existence, and to celebrate even when we don't feel like celebrating this gift of life that is beyond measure, for which we can never, ever adequately thank you. Be with all of us who are struggling. Lay your healing hand on those who are suffering in mind, body, or spirit. And for our part, help us to be a little more focused outside of ourselves than we are on the inside. We ask all this in the name of our brother and teacher, Jesus the Christ. Amen.